Hello, everybody. My name is Oliver G. This is the Earful Tower. How you doing? How you doing wherever you're listening to me from? Things are pretty, well, I gotta admit, things are pretty wet and miserable here in Paris. And when it gets really wet at this time of year, the Seine River tends to start, I hesitate to say flooding, but it tends to start flooding. The water is rising. And it's on the way up, and I'm always really sort of curious and excited when this happens. And it got me thinking about the past times that the Seine has flooded. And I had a flashback to recording a podcast episode during one such flood with Véronique Savoy, who runs the France with Vero community online. And I thought about that chat when we had a deep dive into the whole concept of apéro. And I figured, given I have 2 new podcast seasons on the way and a new book on the way, there's a good chance to dip into the archives. So you're going to hear that chat by the Seine. It's a very sort of interactive episode. You'll hear a lot going on in the background. You'll feel like you're in Paris. And a chat with Vero is always a good one. So a reminder about her website, francewithvero.com, where you can find details about her online French classes, French immersion workshops, her writing on Substack, and so on. And I was actually chatting with her today, and we said that in mid-March, we're going to do an event for both of our member communities at once. So that means if you want to watch it, it'll be a live stream video just like the good old days. You'll need to be a member of one of us on Patreon or Substack. Even better if you're a member of both of ours. And my idea, this could of course change, my idea is to do a sort of episode, live and interactive, along the lines of 100 questions answered about Paris from 2 enthusiastic tour guides. That's us. We both do a lot of tour guiding too. So if you want to watch that in March, make sure your membership is up to date. Otherwise, let's have a flashback to this episode by the Seine River with Véronique Savoy and me talking about this extremely culturally important tradition of the apéro, what it means, and how you can do it too if you want to get a bit more French in your own life. This episode, I think, is quite proudly brought to you by the Earful Tower's members on Substack and Patreon. And also, I want to give a shout out to our walking tours, the earfultower.com/tours. Every Monday, I do a tour myself, almost always the Marais. So if you want to come and meet me in the Marais, Monday is the best time to do it. Find us on the earfultower.com/tours. But let's get down to the flooding Seine for this episode. Here we go. Welcome to my studio, Vero. How are you?
Bonjour, Oliver.
What do you think of my studio?
I think your studio is simply magnificent today. You've outdone yourself.
We're sitting, people can probably hear the traffic behind us already.
That too.
We're sitting just, that's the Pont Louis-Philippe, I believe. Mm-hmm. And we're sitting watching the Seine flooding. Do you care for this?
Yes. I'm amazed that our feet are still dry because water is really not that far from us.
We almost saw a dog get taken away.
Yes.
I say it with a smile, I'm joking, but
the poor little dog almost went away when the big barge went by and created a huge wake.
And it feels like I mean, this is going to be released a few days after we record it, but it feels like the barge only just can fit under these bridges at the moment.
Yes, if it goes up any higher, nobody's going under those bridges for a while.
And how have you been? Now things are starting to get back to normal. It's nice to see you again.
Yes, I know we haven't seen each other since you were away in Sweden for a while. Mm-hmm. Last time I saw you was in the fall, I think. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so everything ticking along?
Yes, it's been busy. Content creation.
That's a never-ending treadmill.
Yes, never-ending. And, so I do a variety of things. And so talking about Paris and France, because I've been traveling around France in spite of the situation.
Well, you're one of these people who will be very quick to say that Paris isn't France and France isn't Paris.
Yes, I would know.
That's tattooed on your arm, isn't it?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I was born in Toulouse in the beautiful southwest, and I've lived in 5 different French regions, including Paris. So I happen to know for sure that Paris is not France.
Hang on, what are the other regions? Or what are the cities that we'd know?
Where I've lived?
Yeah.
I was born in Toulouse, and I moved with my family. My dad had a job that involved moving a lot, so every 4 or 5 years we moved. So from Toulouse we went to northern France, all the way to the Belgian border in beautiful Lille. It's close to Paris. It's a great, actually, day trip or weekend trip from Paris, Lille. And then we went down, all the way back down south, where my mom is from, in Montpellier, another beautiful city.
That's nice.
Few years there.
Can you hear that, people at home? That's a rare sound on the Earful Tower podcast.
La Brigade Fluviale.
Ooh.
The cops who work on the water.
Are they
on
cops
the Seine.
or firefighters? Or?
They're firefighters.
Yeah.
I think you're right. They're firefighters, but they're beautiful red boats. Yep. Oh, look at the wake again. Woo-hoo-hoo.
I love this ambient noise. I'm already enjoying this episode, and we're going to get into the topic in a second. But first, okay, so you went down to Montpellier.
So Montpellier. From Montpellier, we went to Lyon. Definitely one of my favorite cities. And after that, my family moved to Paris, where I lived for 10 years. So I believe that's 5. I've lived in 5 different French regions and visited many more, and I continue to do that, and I share with my community.
You've traveled a lot in France as a tour guide as well.
Yes.
Did you see the list I did of 50 things to do in France?
I did. There were some really great things in there.
What was your score?
I didn't actually count.
That means it was a low score.
Oh, probably 5. I probably could tick off 5 off the list, just barely 5. I will do it, actually. I'll print it and do it.
Well, then let me flip the question around. Is there something in France that you haven't done that you want to do?
Oh, sure. There's plenty.
Well, what's the top thing?
Corsica.
Yeah.
I believe you mentioned Corsica.
That's number 1 for me.
Yeah, and Corsica has been on my list for a really long time, and I've never made it there. So I would definitely love to do that. That would be one of my favorite things. I also want to go and spend more time in Burgundy, because I haven't done that for many, many years. So there are a ton of regions that still attract me, even the ones I know. There's always something to do. France is such a great country for that. It's so diverse. People say diverse, but they don't realize how diverse it really is.
Yeah.
There is so much to do and see, And so I just need time, but I'll get there.
It's almost like we're sponsored by France Tourism, but we're not.
Yeah, I've gotten that a lot over the years on social media. People tell me I'm a good ambassador for France. I've never actually met anyone from the tourist bureau, but maybe I should.
Maybe they're listening.
Maybe they are.
Anyway, forget them. The sun's coming up. Just to paint the picture for people right now.
Oh my goodness, we are blinded by the light.
The sun has just risen pretty close to above the Notre Dame Cathedral.
Yes.
Reflecting so hard off the Seine River that everyone recoiled for 10 10 degrees backwards.
That is true. Well, and I think Paris is smiling at us right now. That's what it means, Oliver.
Let's switch now to the topic at hand. Because, and I'm not exaggerating here, I just don't get it. And you're a French person.
Last time I checked.
Yeah, and I think maybe you can explain it to us all in a way that other people who don't know at all what an apéro is will be able to understand. But first, from my perspective, and you can correct me, it feels like it's some kind of ritual-y thing that that is almost sacred among French people. But at the same time, it feels to me like it just means after-work drinks with your friends. Yeah,
it's all of that. It's a very important concept in French life. So we say apéro, but really we should say apéritif. Apéro is the abbreviation. I think it's 3 things mostly, and you've touched on some of them. It's a ritual, definitely a beloved ritual in French life. And I think a lot of visitors adopt it as well, because it represents French life to them, I think. Number 2, it's an alcoholic beverage. So you'll refer to what you drink during the apéritif as an apéro, the drink itself.
Okay.
And number 3, it's a moment of the day. Because you don't have an apéro at 10 in the morning. You don't have an apéro at 3 p.m. usually. You have an apéro before a meal. That's what it used to be. So you would have an apéro at lunchtime.
Do you mean it's all 3 things? Are you saying... Hang on, I don't know if I understand. And I'm not playing dumb here. I don't think I understand. When you're saying this, if I say, Vero, come round to my place for an apéro, am I saying come round for a drink? Or could you just come round and play chess and have dinner? This
is where it's tricky. Because it used to be that when people said, come over, French people, when they said, come over for l'apéro, it was... usually it would be a couple of hours before dinner. It didn't mean that they would invite you for dinner.
I see.
So you would go and so it was a little tricky because you didn't know what time, when do I leave? So they would serve a few little munchies and drinks, and then you would go home for dinner. But in recent years, something has really developed a lot called l'apéro dînatoire.
L'apéro dînatoire.
Dînatoire from dîner, dinner.
Yes.
And so if people are very specific, they'll say, come and have an apéro dînatoire, by which they imply they will be serving finger foods, but enough of it that you won't need dinner afterwards, which means there will not be a time limit on the evening, you see. But they don't always mention apéro dînatoire, so it can be a little bit tricky to know what you're invited to.
Interesting. But if someone was to invite me around for an apéro, I can expect that I should be getting out of there before dinner time.
Yes, because, and you'll see there will be signs, if your host, starts clearing up the table a little bit or asking one last round, or, there are different ways that people would signal it's going to be time.
Yeah.
These days, though, like I said, whether you go to a restaurant, back when we still had them, or cafes, or a person's place, the apéro dînatoire has really become the norm. So they'll have them late, they'll tell you to come over at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. If somebody invited me for an apéro at 7 or 8 p.m., I would know it's dînatoire, because there's no way I'm going to leave at 10 p.m. and have dinner afterwards.
There's a lot of subtext going on in these invitations.
Yes. And it's implied, and people understand. But for a foreigner, somebody who's not used to this, it could be very puzzling and confusing.
Okay, now I know it's wrong for me to force you to speak on behalf of all of France here, but if let's talk a little bit about etiquette.
Why not? Everybody else is doing it.
if a French person invites me around for an apéro, Oliver, come around for an apéro at 5 o'clock. See you there. Mm-hmm. Just let's say they invited you. What would you bring, or would you ask them? Do you say, what do I bring?
If I know them, if they're friends, I'll show up with a bottle of wine. Mm-hmm. Definitely. If they're good friends, I'll show up with a bottle of wine.
Expensive wine?
No.
From a supermarket?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Just a bottle that you like from a supermarket. If your friends are wine connoisseurs, it's a whole different business, a whole entire story altogether. But no, I would bring a little something, or I would say, but if they said apéro dînatoire, I would say, do you want me to bring something? Should I bring something? And that's probably because I've lived in the US for so long and they do so much, potluck is a way of life over there. So maybe that's why I would ask, do you want me to bring something? Mm-hmm. Maybe I want to bring some finger food, some canapés, or something that will help the hostess. Mm-hmm. You can always ask. And then if they say no, don't insist.
Interesting. I've read a lot of these books by foreigners and expats in this country who claim to know what's going on. Mm-hmm. And I remember one wrote something along the lines of, you should never bring chocolate, you should bring flowers.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because the idea was bringing chocolate or food or drink was a way of sort of insisting or sort of forcing yourself upon what the host or hostess might have had in mind, whereas flowers would never interrupt that.
So it's funny because if I had a choice, if I didn't know the people very well and I wanted to bring something nice, I would not bring wine because I don't know how well they know wine, and if they have a big cellar they're really proud of. So I wouldn't want to hurt their feelings by bringing wine. I would actually bring them a really nice box of chocolates from a high-end or a good chocolate maker from my neighborhood. Mm-hmm. I live in a great neighborhood that has, in the 17th arrondissement, that has a lot of chocolate makers. I would bring a nice little, we call them ballotins, those little boxes with an assortment. So I would do that. So it's interesting. For the flowers, I would recommend that you don't bring them the same day, actually.
Really?
Yes, because as a hostess, when I used to host parties, nothing is more stressful as you're greeting your guests and they keep coming in. Hi, how are you? Take off their coats, than to be given a huge flower arrangement that you don't have a vase for. So if you want to do it properly, have the flowers delivered in the afternoon.
Before you get there?
Yeah. That's a classy, actually that I would say is a very classy thing to do. Beautiful flower arrangement that gets delivered before you arrive. That's nice. That's a nice touch.
Is this a French thing or is this a Véro thing?
I've seen it happen at parties, so I would think it's a...
Oh, I love that.
But, again, there's so many different types of French people. A lot depends on you. Sometimes you know your hosts and sometimes you don't.
How about, are there faux pas? Are there things that you really shouldn't do?
I don't know if there is anything you shouldn't do.
Really?
I think it depends on the people. Some people are more understanding than others. Some people have traveled more than others
What
as well.
about arriving late or early? That's one that people talk about.
Well,
with the
in
French.
France, we have a concept. There's something called the quart d'heure de politesse.
Uh-huh.
The politeness, the 15 minutes. So typically, you would expect guests to be running a little late. In the States, we used to say to be fashionably late, you know. So it's expected that some guests might be a little late, not an hour late. Then you're tardy. But a little late is okay.
So does that apply, do you think, if I'm meeting, like, you know, I'm just a lad about town sometimes. If I'm meeting another French guy for a beer one day, and he says, meet me at 8 o'clock, and if I show up at 8:15, you think that's legit?
No, if it's one-on-one, see, like we met today,
Yeah.
I was going to be late and I had pulled out my phone when I saw you.
Yeah.
I had pulled out my phone to text and say, I'm running late, I'll be there, because it's one-on-one.
Yeah.
A party is a little different, especially if they're expecting other people. It's okay to be 5 to 15 minutes late.
Right.
I'm not saying it's timed exactly right and after 15 minutes they won't let you in.
Hey, look, guess what that sound is, listeners?
The police.
And he was in his underwear, did you see? I think he was about to dive in.
This was the police this time.
So they're a lot faster. Hang on, but if you do arrive late, can you teach me exactly how to say, is there a cool way of going, oh, well, it was just the 15 minutes of politesse? Like, can you get away with...
If it's in Paris, I would start something along the lines, you won't believe what just happened in the metro. Implying there was an incident of some sort, an incident voyageur or a technical difficulty, and that's why I'm like, that's if I'm looking for an excuse.
Yeah. No, then I'm just complicating matters. I'm trying to be polite, but I've got late. Could I just go, ah oui, mais désolé, mais c'était le 15 minutes de politesse, quoi? Can I say that?
You could, if they have a good sense of humor, and they probably will, it's fine.
Okay, good. Well,
yes,
I'm only having...
I would think it's funny. I would
Okay,
think
good.
it's funny personally.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Okay, back to the apéro.
I think a lot of foreigners, not a lot, but some foreigners, I've heard them describe the apéros they've had in France. For them, it's an opportunity to just get smashed. Let's get drunk.
Right.
This has nothing to do with l'apéro. L'apéro is a time when you get around, you meet your friends or your family. It whets your appetite before the meal, if it's not going to be a dînatoire, like we said.
Of course.
But it's a convivial time. You're going to trade news, you're going to catch up. It's about being with people. The drinks are accessories. The nibbles are accessories. The main point is to be with the people. So you can see how now it would be particularly important to do it.
Let's talk about those nibbles and drinks specifically. Imagine there are people listening. Tell me a US state, just a random one.
U.S. state,
Yeah.
the one I lived in for 2 decades, Washington State.
Okay, I'm sure there's someone listening in Washington State right now, right? And they're thinking, but Vero, because they wouldn't say Vero, they'd say Vero, I imagine. They say Vero, what are these nibbles and what are these drinks?
Okay, well, the basic nibbles for l'apéro traditionally, if you have it at a cafe, just a glass of wine, let's say, on the way back from the office, on the way home, you would stop for a glass of wine or another drink. The bartender, the person at the bar, the waiter, would bring some little munchies. Very simple stuff. Peanuts, usually. Little chips, peanuts, something really small, something salty. That's it. That's the basic apéro nibbles. But then, as you invite people at home, it becomes more of a production. I don't know what's happening. Now we have sirens.
That's exciting.
It's Paris. Never a dull moment.
You know, when people listen to this podcast, I've got emails from people who hear the sirens in the background when I do these street interviews, and they temporarily are transported back to their holiday in the city of light.
Because the sounds of Paris are all around us right now, and the sun is back. Excellent.
Yeah.
So the nibbles are the basic ones, but then more of a production if you go to people's houses, because as a hostess or a host, you want to serve something a little bit nicer than peanuts. Supermarket aisles are lined up. You know, people always talk, visitors always talk about the yogurt aisle in French supermarkets.
Yeah.
But there is another aisle that's fascinating. It's the apéritif aisle. It's grown a lot in recent years. Why? Because there are more and more apéros around.
Yeah.
So you would pick some of these things, but homemade is always better, of course. So you would make things, little canapes, My mom would always prepare things. She always made things. She would spread some pâté on special toast. You know, there would always be little dips with vegetables. So depending on what you like, And it's nice to have a balance. Salty, savory things that are a little heavier. And then for people who are watching their diets, a dip with some vegetables. It's nice to have a little balance.
When you were living in Seattle for, was it 20 years in Seattle?
23.
23 years. Did you miss this ritual, or did you try and force it upon Americans?
I didn't have to force anything, because when my friends came over for dinner in the United States, we would have drinks before dinner anyway. So for me, it was like having an apéro.
Yeah.
You know, it was, but the difficulty was when they brought food, because they wanted to help. As I said, potluck. Can we help? Can we bring something? And inevitably, all the things they would bring for the apéro were heavy things, like, you know, like a whole meal. A big brie baked in the oven. But I was like, guys, I have a dinner ready for you, a 3-course meal, French style. We're not going to be hungry anymore. So they kind of missed the point. To them, the drinks before dinner were a whole meal.
I've got an idea.
What?
Let's script out.
Quoi, I should say. Quoi?
There are listeners right now who have a French friend, or maybe a relative or an in-law or something.
Yeah.
I think I'm challenging you guys, if it's safe to do so wherever you are in the world, to invite that French person over for an apéro, especially if you personally aren't a French speaker or whatever. But Vera, I want you to script it exactly what food that they should get for this specific apéro, and more importantly, which drink.
I like you're asking me to come up with a single recipe.
Yeah, but imagine there's someone listening who they just got no idea, and they're going to invite their father-in-law or their next-door neighbor over, and they want to do it simple but right.
And those guests are French?
Yep, so we want to impress them.
Okay. Some bubbly would be nice for drinks.
Okay.
Because apéro drinks are a variety of drinks. You know, Kir Royale, we could go into that. That would be, I mean, I teach a class that's almost 2 hours long on apéritif, so it could take a while. But some bubbly would be nice. Nice sparkling wine or champagne, because that's more of a celebratory mood. It's nice, especially if you don't know the people very well. So that would be nice. Some bubbles. And then for food, I would have a variety. I would have some nice bread, like a really nice bread that you can find. Outside France, I don't recommend looking for baguettes. I would, because they will be always different from what those French people knew in France.
I never thought about that. As a French person, when you find a baguette abroad, are you always a little bit disappointed?
Yes.
Yeah?
In fact, I weaned myself from eating baguettes in the US, and I finally found a bakery that made excellent bread, but I to this day, I don't buy. I'm probably the only French person in Paris who doesn't buy a baguette every day.
Really?
Because I learned to do without it.
But people say there's something in the water here that makes the bread good. That's what I hear.
Maybe it is. But I would just get some nice bread, prepare little slices. I would have some sort of a pâté. If they're not vegetarian, you'd have to know that guest. I don't know. And then also have some vegetables with a dip, like I said. Interesting little things, like things you would make for your own friends. I think they would be interested in seeing what you prepare. The French love food, and they're very interested in discussing food. So don't necessarily try to do what they would expect. Try to surprise them.
I want to finish on something. Did you say you knew some people or had some friends who were doing something cool?
Yes, there is a business in Paris, young ladies actually who met at a really good a restaurant school in Lyon. And they launched a business a few months ago, and I've used their services and shared with my friends and my community online. So I will be sharing that information, because if you live in Paris and you want them to deliver on their bicycles within Paris, everything you need for a fun apéritif for 2 to 5 to 6 people, they would be a good company to call, and you'd be doing a great thing helping out a small business in Paris.
And I'll have the website and their information in the show notes. But Vero, thank you for educating me on a French ritual that I'm surprised I didn't know more about after 6 years here.
Well, that's because it tells you don't hang around enough French people.
I don't get invited anywhere, Vero.
Okay, I will invite you and Lina to my place, and we will order this apéro from these young ladies I was talking about. I've done it with a friend of ours, Lily Heisey from Je t'aime me neither. We had a wonderful apéro a few weeks ago, and I'll do it again with you and Lina.
Maybe we live stream it.
That would be fun.
There you go. Something to look forward to. Vero, thank you for sitting with me by the River Seine on this floody day.
I know, always fun to see you, and always wonderful to see the Seine, especially when she's that angry. Ooh, I like it. I like it.
And just to paint the picture for people, we can see, like, we're sitting at the eastern edge of Ile Saint-Louis, right between the two islands. The bins are halfway underwater, like the public bins. It's
You mean
crazy.
the trash
The
cans?
trash cans, yeah.
The trash cans.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? It's that light, that street light.
Yeah.
That's literally, it looks like it's planted in the middle of the Seine because there's no ground, there's nothing around it. It's just popped up there. Oh, it looks like it's going to float away.
I'm going to go and take a picture of it, which is one more reason that you folks back home should follow me on Instagram. And while you're at it, follow Vero as well.
Thank you.
France with Vero?
France with Vero, Facebook, Instagram, and of course YouTube, where I share a lot of my travels around France and around Paris as well.
So the company that Vero was talking about at the end is Zest Planche. That's Zest Planche, Planche. We'll link it in the show notes. And again, francewithvero.com if you want to find out more about her great work. And become a member of hers, become a member of mine, and you'll be able to watch us doing a live video of some sort for you right around the midpoint of March. Thanks so much for listening to the Earful Tower podcast. My name is Oliver G. I'll be back again next week with another episode. Merci and au revoir.